Hello, guys. Welcome you all to Vedora, the aura of knowledge and the radiance of wisdom. So, beginning with the physiology of excretory system, I have classified the topics into 5-star and 3-star according to the PYQs which were asked in the previous years. The most important topics are being put under the 5-star topics. So, these can be asked for 5 or 10 mark. I have arranged it in a question answer format so that you can just make it cut short for 5 marks or write it as it is for 10 marks. See that you write the introduction, functional anatomy, a flow chart, the processes in it, and then the systems involved, the clinical relevance, and with a diagram to score higher marks. That's it is about physiology in exam point of view. Coming to the first topic, mechanism of urine formation. So, what is urine formation? It is actually the process by the kidney where it removes the waste product by regulating the body fluids, electrolytes, and the acid base balance. This urine is formed in nephron of the kidney, which serves as the structural and functional unit of kidney. Through three basic processes, this happens, that is glomerular filtration, tubular reabsorption, and tubular secretion. Coming to the functional anatomy of nephron, each nephron consists of two parts, the renal corpuscle and the renal tubule. The corpuscle consists of the glomerulus with the Bowman's capsule, and the renal tubule consists of PCT, the proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, duct, distal convoluted tubule, collecting duct. So these duct structures collectively are specialized to filter the blood and reabsorb the useful substances and excrete the waste. This is a simple flow chart which you can include it in exam for easy understanding and score high. So next is glomerular filtration. So this consists of a filtration membrane where the blood passes through this and the blood is filtered through the Bowman's capsule. So it consists of the fenestrated glomerular epithelium, basement membrane, podocytes of Bowman's capsule. This membrane allows free filtration of water and small solutes by preventing the proteins and blood cells from passing through the filters. So the forces involved during this are the glomerular capillary pressure, which is being exerted by the capillaries on the blood, and the plasma colloidal pressure, osmotic pressure inside between the blood molecules, and the capsular pressure, which opposes the filtration. Normal GFR rate is 125 ml per minute or 180 liters per day. This can be asked in MCQs. So, this is the glomerular filtration flowchart. Coming to tubular secretion, it is actually the selective transport of substance from the renal tubules back to the blood, which is to be filtered will be filtered, and the one which is not necessary will be given back to the nephron itself. So that is happening in the tubular reabsorption. So the site of function is proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, and the distal convoluted tubule along with the collecting duct. What happens here is the glomerular filtrate is done maximum reabsorption in the PCT, and then the concentration gradient is fixed in the loop of Henle. Then the hormonal control is being tackled by the DCT and the collecting duct, and the useful substances will be returned to the blood. Coming to tubular secretion, this is a process where the transfer of substance from blood to the tubular lumen happens, like hydrogen ion, potassium ion, ammonium ions, then drugs and toxins. So, what and all drugs we consume, that is also done tubular secretion here. So, the function is regulation of acid base, maintenance of potassium balance, and elimination of waste product. How this happens is the blood in the peritubular capillaries, they undergo active transport into tubules, then addition of waste to filtrate happens, then the formation of final urine is being done. Hormonal regulation. What are the hormones involved? ADH, antidiuretic hormone, also called as vasopressin, then aldosterone, then ANP, antinatriuretic factor. So these are all the hormonal regulation. Final composition of urine will contain all these substances, and mechanism of urine I have pictorially represented it. So this pattern you can follow for your exam to score a high mark. Coming to micturition, act and control, this serves as a very important topic in this chapter where it was asked for 10 mark and 5 mark in the previous years. So, micturition is a process by which the urine is expelled from the urinary bladder through the urethra. So, it is actually a reflex act. It is under the voluntary control in adult, whereas in fetuses or children's, it is not under voluntary control as their brain is not yet completely developed. The functional anatomy, the urinary bladder is actually a muscular organ with a detrusor muscle which you have been studied in anatomy. Then it contains an internal sphincter, external sphincter. It is supplied by the pelvic nerve and the hypogastric nerve and the pudendal nerve. So, how this actually happens? There comes the physiology. It has three processes. What is that? First is filling phase, then reflex phase, then the micturiation phase. In filling phase, the urine is continuously being uh, f- collected from the kidney and it enters to the bladder, and the bladder wall will stretch. When the volume reaches 150 to 200 ml, the stretch receptors are stimulated, whereas when it reaches 300 to 400, the micturition reflex will be initiated. So, here the stretch receptors in the bladder will send impulse to the pelvic nerves to the sacral spinal cord, that is S2 to S4. This affects in the contraction of the detrusor muscle and relaxation of the internal urethral sphincter. Then the urine will move downwards. The bladder filling happens, stretch receptor stimulated, pelvic nerve gives a signal to the sacral spinal cord, that is S2 and S4. Then the parasympathetic activation takes place. Then the detrusor muscle is contracted, internal sphincter is relaxed. Then micturiation happens. So this is controlled by three levels: spinal, pontine, and cortical levels. So spinal control is actually a basic reflex center located in the sacral spinal cord, as we have seen in the reflex, where it is responsible for automatic micturition in infants. If higher centers are absent, the reflex emptying will occur. Coming to the pontine control, that is present in the brainstem. So that is pontine micturiation center, which coordinates the contraction of the muscle and the relaxation of the sphincter. This ensures the smooth and complete voiding of the urine. Cortical control. This is actually voluntary, which is highly developed in the adults, which is present in the frontal cortex. It enables voluntary initiation or inhibits inhibition of the micturiation. It acts by pudendal nerve. So here we need pudendal nerve. So again, it is being explained as a flowchart. You can include it in your exams. Role of autonomic nervous system. What it does? Parasympathetic nervous system, that is the pelvic nerve, it contracts the detrusor muscle, relaxes the internal sphincter, and promotes micturition. Whereas sympathetic, it always does something against, like relaxing the detrusor muscle and contracting the internal sphincter, where micturiation will not happen. Then coming to somatic nervous system, where pudendal nerve is involved, it controls the external sphincter. It is a voluntary control. So this is a pictorial representation of micturition. So this you can include in your exam. Defecation. This is actually another topic, similarly as micturition, where you void your feces. So it is a physiological process by which the fecal matter is expelled from the rectum through the anal canal, and it is a reflex act which is partly under voluntary control in adult. The functional anatomy of this defecation contains the rectum, anal canal, internal anal sphincter, external anal sphincter, pelvic floor muscle. So, I have a suggestions for you guys when you study all the physiological aspect as well as anatomy. When you study both the things, try to correlate both the topics so that you can keep on being revising it continuously. So, here when you study this functional anatomy of defecation reflex, there you have rectum, anal canal, internal anal sphincter, external anal sphincter, pelvic floor muscle. So when you cover these topic in your anatomy, the digestive system, almost one fourth of your chapter there will be refreshed, revised by you. So see that you train yourself like that. and try to study everything with diagram, which will store in your mind for a longer period of time and it will be useful in exam also. So rectum, it is a temporary storage place, an anal canal, the terminal part of the large intestine, internal anal sphincter, which is a smooth muscle involuntary, external anal sphincter, which has the skeletal muscle voluntary, pelvic floor muscle, levator ani, and support consistence. Coming to the nerve supply, we have parasympathetic, sympathetic, and somatic. Again, the same three nerves. Pelvic nerve, instead of sacral nerve, here we have the hypogastric nerve. Then the somatic nerve, the pudendal nerve. Mechanism of defecation. So here we have a filling phase where the mass movement of the colon pushes the feces into the rectum. The rectal wall will get distended, stretch receptors in the rectal wall are stimulated. So this is how it is done. Then the reflex phase. Here the pelvic nerve will send the signal to the sacral spinal cord S2 S4. Then parasympathetic activation happens. Then the rectal contraction happen and the internal sphincter will relax. Control of defecation. This is also done in three levels, that is spinal, cortical, and voluntary muscular control. Spinal control, it is by the sacral spinal cord. Whereas the cortical control, it is the consciousness of the rectal fullness which reaches the cerebral cortex. And there, what it happens, the individual will decide to defecate or postpone. Coming to voluntary, here the external and anal sphincter will be controlled by the pudendal nerve. Contraction will lead to defecation postponed. Then relaxation may lead to defecation will occur. This is the flowchart for that. What is the role of autonomic nervous system here? Parasympathetic will increase the rectal peristalsis, then promote defecation, whereas sympathetic will reduce the rectal movement and it inhibits the defecation, whereas somatic, it controls the external anal sphincter and makes it voluntary when it is necessary. Defecation in infant, this is actually a very important topic. Cortex will be not developed in infant, so it's purely a reflex action. Voluntary control will develop only by 2 to 3 years. So this is the schematic representation of defecation and its mechanism. Coming to the functional anatomy of urinary tract with functions of kidney, this may also be asked in your exams as it is one of the most important topic comprising the whole chapter in just one question. So, about this topic, our urinary tract consists of organs concerned with formation, transport, storage, and excretion of urine. So, the main thing is kidney and the nephrons, which regulate the water, electrolyte, acid base balance, and the removal of metabolic waste. Coming to the components of the urinary tract, we have kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder, and urethra. So, these things you will be learning it again in anatomy. So try to compare both and learn so that it will be useful for you in both the subjects. Need not keep studying it in a different way. Okay, prepare a proper notes, write all these things as a note format, study like a question and answer so that it will be easy for you to remember and write it in your exams, and for a long term memory also it helps. So kidney, as you know, it is a paired bean-shaped organ which is located retroperitoneally, and each kidney has a cortex, medulla, renal, pelvis. Then coming to nephron, it is the structure and functional unit of kidney. Each kidney will contain about 1 to 1.2 million nephrons. Parts of nephron, we have renal corpuscles, glomerulus, Bowman's capsule, renal tubule, the proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubule, and the collecting duct. So here are their functions also. Moving on to the function of kidney, it does excretory function, regulation of water balance, regulation of electrolyte balance, regulation of acid base balance, endocrine function, and regulation of blood pressure. So excretory function, it excretes nitrogenous waste, urea, uric acid, creatinine, and removal of drugs and toxins. Coming to regulation of water balance, it contains the fluid volume, the plasma osmolarity, and regulated by the ADH or vasopressin. Regulation of electrolyte balance. It regulates like sodium, potassium, calcium, chlorine, phosphate ions, and it maintains the normal ionic composition of the extracellular fluid. Then in acid base balance, it does the excretion of hydrogen ion and reabsorption of the bicarbonate ion and maintains the blood pH. In endocrine function, it is secreting the renin in regulating the blood pressure, erythropoietin in RBC production, and activation of vitamin D by calcium metabolism. So, regulation of blood pressure is by renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system called RAAS system, which is a very important topic again. I'll try to put a separate video for that. Control of blood volume. These are the functions. This may be asked separately for 5 marks. Functions of kidney, anatomic and functions of kidney means you can write that too in a combined way. Last year this question had come. So ureter's functional anatomy, urethra's functional anatomy, like that they may ask in a separate way. But most commonly they may ask about kidney. So what are ureters? They are two muscular tubes connecting the kidney to the bladder. Their length are about 25 to 30 centimeter. They transport the urine by peristaltic contraction and they prevent the backflow due to oblique entry into the bladder. Coming to the urinary bladder, it is a hollow muscular organ which is lined by the transitional epithelium. So this may be asked in MCQs. Which epithelium is it lined by? Transitional epithelium. Detrusor muscle enables the storage and voiding. Capacity is 400 to 600 ml. Temporary storage of urine is their function. Urethra. It conducts the urine from the bladder to the exterior. It is controlled by two splinters, internal urethral splinter and external urethral splinter. Coming to the functional integration of urinary tract, kidney forms the urine, ureters will transport this urine, bladder will store that urine and urethra will expel the urine. And this is the schematic representation. So I guess if you study this, it will be easy for you to write. Yes guys, concluding the video, I would like to stop here. Kindly do subscribe the channel and follow the channel for more videos. Like and comment for suggestions. 3-star topic I will be posting as a separate video. So keep studying, keep going, keep focusing. Thank you and have a good day.